Hello YouTube, it is June 18th and we're here with number 4, breaking down Andrew Yang's very long extensive platform. So we done went through all of this over here, and like I said, I'm going to save LGBTQ rights for a whole separate video within itself. So we starting off on the top with foreign policies and first principles. And if you ain't seen the first three that contains this whole section right here, I would leave it down in the description box below. But anyways, starting off with foreign policies, first principles. While America has undoubtedly made mistakes, we've been a positive force in world history, leading to the spread of peace, prosperity, and democracy. Okay. Presidents from JFK to Ronald Reagan maintained strong relationships with allies while sending clear and honest messages to those who would work against us. Over the past several decades, we have engaged in conflicts that have cost us trillions of dollars and thousands of American lives. These misadventures, okay, have destabilized parts of the world, made enemies of allies, and resulted in untold human suffering both for our brave soldiers and civilians of other countries. While an unfathomable amount of money has been spent on the military, engagements that have accomplished little, our infrastructure has started to collapse, and our people are living paycheck to paycheck and falling prey to ills like drug abuse. I wonder why. We need to make sure we are strong at home if we are going to successfully project our values abroad. It's impossible to be a leader when you have no allies, and so we need to rebuild our relationships with the rest of the world. Leveraging these relationships, we can be more effectively deal with international issues. Working with our allies will make us stronger and more able to accomplish our goals over time. Okay, as president, I will work with our allies to rebuild our stature in the world and strengthen allies such as NATO, reinvent in diplomacy, and bolster funding to the State Department. Work with allies to project our combined strengths throughout the world without engaging in activities that would cost America lives and money with no clear benefit to our long-term well-being. Signing repeal to the AM, AUMF, returning the authority to declare war to Congress and refuse to engage in anything other than emergency military activity without the express consent of Congress. I'm actually here for that. Regularly audit the Department of Defense. Focus on federal budget on fixing problems at home instead of spending trillions of dollars abroad. Once again, I'm here on that. Focus on getting your own house cleaned up first before trying to feed people in, third world countries, whether it be Ecuador or, some areas of Europe, Africa. Honey, fix your own house first. And then the irony where you're talking about drug use earlier, let's go back up to this top part right here. Well, if we wasn't, enabling darn on countries such as China, so I'm all for getting the allied countries together, but some countries actually need a little bit restriction because once again, to quote what you said earlier, Andrew Yang, on the last video we darn went over, China importing the largest amounts of darn cocaine up through here. And then to the tune of why we have trillions of dollars spent in wars in Africa, the so-called shithole countries that Donald Trump likes to coin, even though we can't stay out of Africa. Well, you got to think about not only is they darn on trying to get oil out of Africa, we depending on them for the cobalt that we darn gonna misuse my ancestors for, the Congolese people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. but also the heroin poppy fields that you refuse to let the people over in Africa burn, which is why you still keep the soldiers over there, alleged. So maybe if we get those situations under control, the poppy fields in Africa, give the Congolese people decent working wages and actual advanced technology equipment to mine the cobalt that actually we use and we depend on in America, so much so that we will fall to a second world status without the cobalt and the other minerals that the Congo provides alone. So maybe if we focus on strengthening um, those alliances with countries such as the Congo and other African nations, while also being stricter on the so-called ally countries that are detrimental to us, such as China, then maybe America can be a far better place. That would be if I was going for president, that would be what I would do as far as foreign principles. Dargon toughening up on punishments from crack cocaine coming in through China. Also toughening on punishments of garden poppy fields in Africa, and toughening punishments for the darn mistreatments of Africans over in the motherland. Including, we're going to talk about Libya in a whole nother video. But just to keep it on, as far as this topic, um, misusing Africa for funds and darn on extracting their resources to our advantage while darn on giving them crumbs in the form of welfare aid versus if we just leave them be, they can be stabilized on their own. We need to correct that as well. So that's all I would do if I was running for president. But unfortunately, I'm too young. Maybe in 2028 I might run. So next we got gun safety. For many Americans, guns are a big part of their culture and identity. However, guns are a major responsibility, and thus we need to have common sense gun safety measures, especially considering that there are already approximately 300 million firearms in the United States. Responsible gun owners should continue to enjoy the rights to bear arms, subject to licensing and education requirements that will encourage the public safety. Okay, short, sweet, simple, to the point. Okay, he got some details. Oh, okay. Now he got some details on this one. Promote a stringent tiered licensing system for gun ownership. Think a CDL versus a regular driver's license. All tiers. Okay. Pass a federal background check, eliminating the gun show loophole. Basic hunting rifle and handguns. Pass a basic hunting / firearm safety class, provide a receipt for an improved size gun locker or trigger lock per registered gun. Okay, oh, so that's tier one. Oh, okay. So this is how we breaking down the tiers. Okay. Tier two, semi-automatic rifles. Have a tier one license for at least 1 year. Oh, so it's a prerequisite. So you just can't jump to tier two or go into tier three off the bat. You have to it's a prerequisite to this. Okay. So prerequisite is graduating from tier one. And then see that's a little bit different than a license because a CDL you can go get a CDL off the bat and just apply for it right there. But I still get the gist of where you're going. Be at least 21 years of age, pass an advanced firearm safety class. Okay. And then tier three, advanced and automatic weaponry. Maintain current restrictions and definitions. National Firearms Act of 1934. Ban high capacity magazines. Requires submission of fingerprints and DNA to the FBI. Submit to a gun locker inspection to assure it can house the weapons. Undergo yearly refresher trainings on the use of these firearms. Now I don't know about yearly refresh. It's like now after you know how to use it, you don't necessarily need a yearly refresher, maybe once every 5 years, uh, to see if you still got it. But not, every year, like, come on now, that's like a darn on a license now. Now, come on now, no. So that's one thing I'll say right there. Now we already having to go through graduating from tier 1 to tier 2. Now by the time you get to tier 3, I think you have proven yourself enough where you are efficient enough where you don't need no annual training on gun training. Anyone with a history of violence, domestic abuse, or violent mental illness will be restricted from receiving their license. Those who currently own any firearms will be grandfathered in with their current license, and for the 1 year requirement, if they decide to apply for a tier 2 license, receive a one-time gun owner tax credit for adhering to the additional requirements implemented by the new system. Be allowed a tax write-off for the purchase of any equipment required to adhere to the new standards. Be allowed to register any currently unregistered firearms without facing any penalties. Individual states will determine their cancel/carry open carry laws, and reciprocity will not be fairly enforced. However, a concealed or open carry license in one state will satisfy all license requirements in all states. Ooh, and it gets even more in depth. Prohibit the manufacture and sales of bump stocks, suppressors, etc., exploding ammunition, and yes, this is currently legal. On grenade launcher attachments, create federal safety guidelines for gun manufacture and distribution, similar to the federal car safety requirements with strict penalties for the violation of these guidelines. Encourage gun manufacturers to implement designs that prevent interchangeable parts that alter the functionality of the firearm. So okay, you making sure nobody won't even need the guns to get around this. Okay. Now I will say Andrew Yang is the first one out of all 20 some presidents that I've seen their platform actually go this in depth on the actual gun laws. I've heard some people speak about it, but this is the first one I'm actually reading that goes so far in detail. So implement a federal buyback program for anyone who wants to voluntarily give up their firearm. Invest in innovative technology that will make firearms harder to fire for non-owners of the gun, and create a federal bipartisan panel to determine when technological innovations are advanced and reliable enough to be included in manufacturing safety requirements. Oh well, shit! If you're trying to darn gonna trick out the guns with technology, where somebody managed to get the gun from you and they can't shoot you, hell, I might have to darn gonna backpedal on the training for every year. I mean, if you darn gonna innovate the guns to this level, okay, I might can see why we might need some training every year. You darn gonna try to take us into the 22nd century with this. As stated here, invest in a more robust mental health infrastructure. This will help to identify and treat people with mental health illnesses that make them prone to violence. Increase funding to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and drastically increase funding to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs and Suicide Prevention efforts. Initiate and fund mindfulness programs in school and correctional facilities, which have been demonstrated to reduce violent behavior. Invest heavily in law enforcement training to de-escalate situations involving firearms. My only thing is this though, I don't want it to be overly moderated, because if you're banning somebody just because they had a past history of suicide, uh, I don't think that's right. I don't think that it's to assume that just because somebody had a suicide attempt before that they would be permanently banned from having a gun. Also, mental illness can vary depending on the severity. I mean, I don't think somebody who suffers from necessarily a low grade of bipolar should necessarily be banned from a gun. Now, maybe somebody with dissociative identity disorder, because they can blame the whole altar for a death, but not somebody with regular bipolar, schizophrenia that's treated with medication. So there needs to be a little bit more leniency with people who suffer from mental health disorders. I'm not for a full out, because then they will find some way to all of a sudden make all black people mentally ill. It'll be like, oh no, we're gonna start diagnosing people with depression and stuff left and right. Oh, you ain't getting no firearm today, so I don't want to see that happen. So so there needs to be some more restrict guidelines on the level of mental health that will prevent somebody from owning a fire gun. But yeah, just general, depression and stuff like that. I don't think should affect you having a gun. So next we got paid family leave. Let me check my phone real quick, y'all. So paid family leave. America's lack of mandated paid family leave is quite frankly stupid. Robust family leave plans have been shown to improve children's health and increase women's employment rates. We're one of only a handful of countries to lack a federally mandated family leave policy, and the others are Suriname, Papua New Guinea, and a few South Pacific island nations. As president, he proposed and fight for a paid family leave policy requiring employers to offer at least 9 months of paid family leave distributed between parents, however they see fit, or 6 months of paid leave for a single parent. I'm halfway here for it. I actually think it depends on the position. Now, I know I might get some flack for this, but when you get into upper management positions and you put yourself in a position where you're pregnant, or fathers who want to take leave as well, you got to think if you're in a like a corporate, Fortune 100 company, you cannot honestly expect to be out of the loop for 6 months to 9 months and then come back in and expect that you are 100% safe of still having your job at your current level. So I don't think I'm a little bit, half and half on this. Maybe this might be good for jobs where you naturally you know, I always know the skill, like, a factory job or McDonald's, Burger King. Okay, 6 months, you still going to know how to flip the fries and, and the burger and stuff once you get back. But when you're talking about like a high stress environment, like working at like a marketing at Apple or something like that, you can't expect for them to darn on just have a temporary replacement, and then the replacement turns out to do better than you. But now, since you off a leave, you coming back, and then the person who's proven to be better than you now have to get gone. I think in situations like that, the company should still reserve the right to, you know, put those two people against each other and let the best person win. If your replacement proves themselves to be better in 6 months, the 9 months that you decided to take off, um, you don't necessarily have to be fired, but you definitely go to you should be demoted from your position if somebody comes in and prove that they can do your job better than you within those 6 months. I mean, I understand maybe as the mother you suffer from postpartum, and your weight gain, you're not as swift like you used to, but that's just the risk of having a child. Now in corporate America, you just have to take the losses with that. If somebody comes in and they prove themselves to be more efficient at your job than you post baby, you gonna have to darn on find another position within the company, or be required to step down. So like I said, I'm 50-50 on paid maternity leave. I think it might be good for regular jobs such as working at Walmart or McDonald's, but when you talk about corporate 100 and 500 companies, this is where it gets a little bit messy. So next is support for the arts. Both experiencing and creating art in any form is personally enriching and spurs economic development and community engagements. Artists have the same effect on the community as entrepreneurs. over time. However, many artists and art organizations can't generate enough revenue to cover their costs or make their art financially accessible to a wide range of people. Due to budget cuts to the arts, we're seeing a scaling back or closing of programs offered by all types of arts organizations, including museums, theaters, dance, and opera companies and orchestras. This has been a severe loss to people, their communities, and our society. Additionally, the way that people consume art, especially music and film, has dramatically changed over the past several decades. However, our copyright and licensing legislation hasn't. It's time to revisit these laws in order to ensure that creativity can still thrive while our artists receive fair compensation. While the Freedom Dividend will provide people with financial support to pursue their artistic endeavors, there is much more we can do to support the arts in this country. So let's see what he plans on doing as far as people who likes to express their creativity through the arts. As president, I will restore the NEA and the NEH funding to at least pre-1996 levels, adjusted for inflation, support changes in the tax laws to spur investments in film, television, and live theatrical productions. Section 181 of the Federal Tax Code bring greater awareness to how individuals and local communities throughout the country benefit from the federal support for art programs. Strongly support existing programs that offer art and music education in primary and secondary schools and push for more such programs. They have been demonstrated to improve education outcomes, explore the feasibility of creating a national theater, assemble experts in copyright to propose ways to change copyright law in order to spur creativity. Continue to iterate on the Music Modernization Act and promote similar policies that will bring our laws around compensation for the arts into the modern streaming internet era. Okay. So to all you artistic people out there, that's everything in a nutshell that he plans on doing for the arts, which includes the theater, dog. The theater, the orchestra. The orchestra. Okay, I ain't warmed up yet. I can't hit them notes just yet today. I ain't warmed up. I ain't even got my water near me, but to the darn gone opera people out there, all the way down to the bars, and all the way up to the darn gone mezzos and the coloratorial sopranos. Y'all will soon have some funding for the darn gone singing. But anyways, y'all ain't come here for my darn gone lackluster darn gone singing that ain't warmed up. So let's go on to the next. On to the next. On to the next. Honey, I'm more of a hip hop girl than an opera girl, so I can spit the bars. I can't darn gonna compete with y'all darn gone operatic dramatic sopranos, honey. But anyways, control the cost of higher education. So college tuition has exploded over the past several decades. For the baby boomer generation, a college student could hold down a summer job to pay a substantial portion of their tuition. Such as Elizabeth Warren when she was at in college, Hillary Clinton and all your senators back then. If not the whole thing. Today the student would be matter of fact, I want to go on and mention I remember darn on Elizabeth Warren saying that she spent only $50 a semester for college. And now look where it's at. Honey, some people have to spend to the tune of $15,000 to $20,000. But anyways, today that student would be lucky to cover the cost of their books. With tuition increasing by as much as 400% over the past quarter century, too many students are being saddled with over 100K in student loan debt before they even start their adult lives. Despite the astronomical endowments and high tuition costs that students are willing to bear, education hasn't become any better. Schools need to get back to their ideals educate in service of their students and their country. To do so, they need to get their tuition under control. Well, I thought that's where, everybody was on one accord with the, free, trade school. Now, some people are going as far as to say free, 4-year colleges. I'm for the free 2-year. And then, restrictions on certain programs. But we've already, touched on that with other platforms and, people, so we'll leave that down below. I think I mentioned this as far as Andrew Yang's platform, if I'm not mistaken, but I will at least leave the ones where I gave my opinions on, Senator Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, who's also, want to tackle the high cost of education. I definitely know I touched on it with Elizabeth Warren. But anyways, let's see what Andrew Yang is talking about. That's what y'all here for. That's what y'all came for. But anyways, these are all the problems to be solved. Oh, more details. See, I done all that darn on singing. Now I'm about to be darn on raspy going through all these darn on points. But anyways, I'm going to try my best. As president, I will explore a gradual phase in of a desired ratio of administrators to students of 1 to 30 as a condition of the public funding as opposed to the current 1 to 21. Huh? Explore a gradual phase in of a desired ratio of administrators to students of 1 to 30 as a condition of public funding as opposed to the current 1 to 21. So we making it where you're going to increase the teacher to student ratio. The ratio was 1 to 50 in the 1970s. If we can get back to that level, then colleges will be much cheaper. Okay, so he's actually doing the opposite by encouraging larger classroom sizes and saying that if they can have larger classrooms, then by default it will make the trust me, no, they won't, because there is classrooms where the student ratio is to teacher is like 1 to 200, and guess what? They still paying upwards of 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000. So miss me with that ratio fallacy, honey. Because even in doggone business school and law school where you in a classroom of 200 people, honey, that doggone tuition is still high. So I don't know where doggone Andrew Yang is getting with this, thinking that if you increase the number of students per classroom, that would lower the doggone depth. No, ma'am, Pam, honey. No, sir, Sam. Average depth of a graduating student, average depth discounting students who don't take out loans, average salary of a recent graduate, average salary of a graduate over 10 years. Stipulate that any university that receives public funding cannot increase its costs more than the rate of annual median wage growth the year before. That might be interesting. So stipulate that the university that receives the public funding cannot increase its costs more than the rate. So if the median annual income is like $20,000, the maximum they can charge is $20,000. Okay, that might be okay. Amend or modify the U.S. News and World Report ranking and eliminate the ability of any university to compensate administrators with incentives tied to their rankings. I'm half and half on that. Require all universities with endowments of over 300, with over 30 billion to contribute 1% of their total endowment each year, 300 million, to the funding and to the founding and operations of a new university in Ohio until it becomes self-sustaining. Now what? Wait a minute. What? Require all universities with endowments of over 30 billion to contribute 1% of their total endowment each year, 300 million, to the founding and operations of a new university in Ohio until it becomes self-sustaining, at which point Another community would be identified. The Harvard creates a new university in Ohio's tax. I need to look more into that because I'm trying to figure out what made y'all pick Ohio out of every like. Is this going to be a rotating thing? Like once Ohio's done, then we're going to go to let's say North Carolina, and then we're going to go out west to California, and then we go to the Midwest, like Arizona somewhere. Like I'm trying to figure out why we in Ohio, and are we planning on moving out to Ohio? It says at one point another community will be identified by the Harvard creates a new university in Ohio. Wait a minute, why does Harvard gets the main decision in this? Like, and then isn't Harvard known for their favoritism? I mean, hell, didn't Harvard darn gonna have Donald Trump as an alumni? This person don't even know the 50 continental United States. Didn't know Puerto Rico was a darn on state territory, but he can say he's a darn on alumni of darn on Harvard. So you in bed with Harvard on a Ohio? Hmm. Okay, I mean you talking about darn on restrictions to darn on colleges and stuff, but then you darn on giving the darn on ball in the court to a university. I mean, and like I said, I'm gonna have to look into that. That seems like a backpedal right there. I mean, this seems a little bit contradictory, but like I said, I'm gonna look into this. We're gonna do a special video on this one. I'm taking a mental note to come back to this and do a whole special video on that one with the control the cost of higher education. But anyways, pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. So we might need to stop this one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to go with this one, and then I'm going to do part 5 with southern border security. So let's go ahead and get into it. Oh no. But then again, y'all love these darn long videos. And yeah, I mean, I've been looking at the view count. Y'all been loving it, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to y'all. So, pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. Immigrants have been a source of hard work and innovation for America over the centuries, without a doubt. The melting pot of our country has led to the most dynamic, most creative, and most successful nation in the history of the world. Facts, honey. It's also necessary to recognize that as a nation, we need to maintain control of our immigration system. The current system we have in place, when it works, does a great job ensuring that highly skilled, hard-working, and invested immigrants can come to this country and integrate, become new Americans who contribute greatly to our society. However, because of issues on the southern border, our immigrant system has broken down, and we have over 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States. While these individuals are generally law abiding people who work hard and contribute to their local communities, it's also true that they're not supposed to be here. Outside of increasing our guest worker program and making sure that those who receive temporary permissions to come to the U.S. to work leave when their time is up, we need to find ways to address the massive community of undocumented immigrants who enter the country illegally. Rounding up and deporting that many people is a non-starter. It will be prohibitively expensive, disruptive, and inhumane to so many communities. Now I don't necessarily now here comes a little bit of conservative in me. Now I ain't inhumane, I don't know. Putting you back in the paddy wagon and kindly sending you on back over. I don't necessarily see the inhumane in that. Now maybe the cages and holding them for an indefinite period of time is a little bit inhumane. But they're gonna just gathering them up, shipping your ass back on over, and then you come back over here getting in jail. That I don't find nothing inhumane about that. But that's just my 2 cents on that. But so a pathway to citizenship must be provided after securing our southern border so that we don't end up right back where we started. However, this pathway must reflect the fact that these individuals try to circumvent our legal immigration system. It's even more important to get this right when citizenship guarantees a freedom dividend. See Andrew's policy on the DREAM Act and Southern Border Security. I think that's the one coming after this one, which I said we're going to go into in the next video. So y'all stay tuned, like, comment, share, subscribe. You hear my thoughts on the Southern Border Security. So as president, Andrew Yang plans on to secure the southern border and drastically decrease the number of illegal entries into the U.S., provide a new tier of long-term permanent residencies for anyone who has been here illegally for a substantial amount of time so that they can come out of the shadows and enter the former economy and become full members of the community. I think there needs to be some restrictions on that. Uh, and I'll do a whole separate video on this. But the new tier will permit individuals to work and stay in the country, provided that they pay their taxes and don't get convicted of a felony. I would also add certain high misdemeanor charges to this as well, because theft and you know regular gang violence ain't necessarily seen as felonies, but I think enough of those misdemeanors can warrant you getting shipped back on over too. And that's just my thoughts on that. Reflecting our desires to bring them into our country, but also their decision to circumvent legal immigration channels. Invest heavily in an information campaign to inform immigrant communities of this new tier of residency and deport any undocumented immigrants who doesn't proactively enroll in this program. Okay. I'm pretty darn on the spot on with this. The only thing I would add is, I would expand the felony deportation to high misdemeanors as well. Like too many consistent high misdemeanors can get you deported. That way we can curb all these gangs and Chirac and all of them that may not have been convicted of felonies, but they do enough, misdemeanor crimes where they go in and out of jail where it can warrant them going ahead and get shipped on across the water. Way in the water. Now it's time for you to way back in the water. Way across the darn on border again, which you can. And this is towards anybody. This ain't necessarily Mexican, Ecuadorian, El Salvadorian, everybody, in my opinion. I don't know. I think it's weird that he didn't mention the DACA children up in here, because they've been affected negatively by this too, and they really are the innocent ones in this. Like, we also need to focus on, I've always been a component of putting the DACA children at the top of the immigration line, where since they was brought up on American culture, they should be the main ones to the first of the immigration line to pass the test and become naturalized citizens. So instead of darn on sending them across the water, they've already been through the school system. They speak English. They know all about American culture. Allow special privileges for them to be at the first of the line, since they have been in America so long, where they haven't committed any crimes, where they can go ahead and become naturalized citizens. So I also want to make that clear, to separate the DACA children from the ones who are just coming here and being under the radar, and unfortunately some join gangs and some are out here stealing and doing other crimes. But we need to focus on getting them out of here, while also focusing on getting the good ones um the paperwork and stuff they receive. So I'm about 75% in agreement with Andrew Yang on this immigration reform, tackling on it. I would have loved for him to mention about increasing the security technology near Texas. Like, when it comes to that southern border, I would have loved for him, since he is Asian and he's a very matter of fact, I want to go and say that his background is in technology. I haven't really researched what, career field that he's in, but I want to say he's the most technology savvy person that's running for president. So it's very ironic that he didn't touch on the technology in Texas that they're using to track down illegal immigrants, from the heat sensors that can detect the immigrant patterns from the footprints. You got the drones with the night vision where they can see the patterns of where the immigrants are going into the U.S. and then you know kindly gather them together and they're gonna send them right on back under without no physical harm. You don't have to resort to no shooting or shooting nobody down. Don't have to do no tear gas or none of that. Just have the drones and then kindly shoot them with some light pellet guns, or if you need to go to force. I don't recommend using no actual ammunition. It ain't that serious. I mean, well, it can be serious because of some of the people that's coming here, but we want to err on the side of more cautious. Like, we don't want to immediately meet immigrants who are potentially innocent with deadly force off the bat. So I would recommend first going in easy, and then if you need to get combative, go in with the pellet guns and stuff first. Um, Tear gas, and definitely the children. Like, come on now, if you see children, why be throwing out tear gas? Get your lazy ass up and darn gonna manually tackle somebody down. I'm so sick of these darn ICE agents and cops being so fucking lazy. They just want to darn gonna throw pepper spray and tear gas from a distance as opposed to darn gonna getting in there and darn gonna doing some regular manhandling and darn gonna cuffing somebody. That way the children and the innocent mama and the pregnant mamas aren't damaged in the process. You just throwing tear gas out to darn gone no. So we need to get that under control as well. But like I said, that's a whole video within itself. But that is it, y'all. Those are my thoughts on these policies. Like I said, we're going to go into southern border on the start of the next video. That would be Andrew Yang policy number 5. But just to summarize, we done went over foreign policy first principles, gun safety, paid family leave, support for the arts, control for higher education, and the pathway to citizenship. So we done went through 6 bullet points today. Then the next 6 bullet points we will go over maybe tomorrow. But today, honey, y'all can feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. To continue the conversation with part 5 with Southern Border Security. Oh, he does have one on the Support the Dream Act. So okay. So we'll definitely see what he has mentioned for the Dreamers, and the Southern border security in the next video. So I might have spoke too soon. So I apologize, Andrew. I done said that I wanted to hear more about what you wanted to do for the Dreamers, and here it is right here. So, honey, I will give Andrew Yang this. He left no stone unturned. Now, my only problem is some of these darn policies, be just a little line, while others be full paragraphs. Now, if we can get it more consistent where we can get a happy medium across all of this, honey, I might have to put in my vote for Andrew Yang for 2020. But we still got like another 50 some darn slides to go through for him to convince me. But he's darn wearing on me, y'all. Because I would tell you, when I first started this on Andrew Yang, he was not in my top 10 at all. He has slowly creeped up to the top 5 for me thus far. He slowly done creeped up to the top 5, and in some cases the top 3. I done put him up there with darn Elizabeth Warren and Marion Williamson in some cases. But if y'all want to see if he overall wins me over, once again, like, share, subscribe, and I will see y'all soon with more videos. Also, the timestamps will be down below.